What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are here today to talk about Skeleton Crew.
Yes, we
What'd
are.
you think? What'd you think,
I
man?
really liked it so far.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's kind of holds for what we talked about last time, but it's just really fun, and clearly has some other things going on to it other than just mischievous kids. But how about you?
Yeah, I liked it. Man, that first part was just really cool. I thought the way that they're bringing everything into this new, just it's a new universe, but it's not,
Mhm.
I think it's really cool how they start out with this, almost they're not doing this scrolling thing anymore for the most
Right.
part. I don't think maybe they will for Grogu and Mandalorian. But right now, I think it's really cool that they do this, and at least let some of the people that don't know what's going on have an idea
Right.
that we're getting ready to see a bunch of pirates, which I think was pretty cool. But I also thought that opening scene was just so cool. I've watched a bunch of the reviews and stuff on it, and if you go back and watch the first scene of A New Hope, when the big ship comes in and takes over, and the stormtroopers enter, it's very similar to that, which I thought was really cool.
Reminiscent.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I like seeing this other side of that world, because Han Solo is technically a pirate, but he's more obviously he's a smuggler, and you see bounty hunters. We get all kinds of that side of this world, but it's interesting to see in live action some of this space piracy. Love seeing it in Clone Wars with Hondo and all those types of characters, but it's cool to see it in this era, and then with all of these sort of new characters. We don't know who they are, except maybe Vane barely, but
yeah, and I think we'll see him again. I mean, I think he definitely is going to be a big part of this. Just because they did have him in Mandalorian 3, so I think it'll be a really cool thing to have him in here as part of this. We only saw a little bit of him in this, but I definitely think we're going to see some more of Vane in it. What's your thoughts on Hondo?
On Hondo,
you think we'll see him?
Possibly. I don't think we need to, but I think it would be cool. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. I think, based on where this is going, which I'm sure we'll get into in a second, but Hondo's probably the type of person who would be very self-interested to get those kids home, as I assume Jod is, Jude Law's character. But I think it would be cool because Hondo typically shows up for the good guys while also being a pain in the ass. So
you don't know which side.
Yeah,
you don't know which side he's going to be on. Because again,
Yeah.
I think at the end, I mean, he was technically a rebel, but again, he's in it for himself. He's in it for the money at some point. But again, I think he still has a good heart. But I think it would be cool to see him in this for sure. So we're live. We're talking about Skeleton Crew episode 1 and 2. If you haven't seen it yet, we will have spoilers on here. So probably not a good idea to watch it yet until you've watched episode 1 and 2. The chat is open, so please hit us up with some questions or things that you liked about it. I thought it was again, we're going to talk about both episodes, which were really cool. Episode 1, this could be a real adventure, was the name of it. I thought it was really cool. Again, like we talked about, them opening up with the space battle for the most part, not in space, but the larger ship taking on the smaller ship, the pirates taking over, this whole thing, and it was pretty gory. I mean, for everybody's talking about, oh, this is going to be a kid show, and I think it is for the most part a kid oriented show, but I think that everybody wasn't looking at that going, oh, I mean, they just shot a bunch of people and killed them in the first 5 minutes.
Yep. Set the stage too, because we just talked about this before going on, but my guess, as I assume a lot of other people's, is that the former captain of that ship is Jude Law's character, Jod. Um, and I like getting thrown into the midst of like the pirate struggle, right? The mutiny and the you know, not that we've been watching them, but they mentioned that they've been kind of hitting a cold streak and they're finally excited to get a payload and it's a big old failure, um, which kind of sets the stage for what I assume will be a lot of greedy intentions with these kids, for everybody, including Jod.
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the things that I saw online, there was some people that think like that picture I just showed is the Captain Silvo at the
Yeah,
beginning there. You know, they talk. A lot of people are saying because again, I think he does have a very similar accent that
yeah,
Jude Law does, and I wonder if it'll be. Oh, that's not him. We'll get back to him. Uh, if it's going to be that person, because a lot of people are saying a lot of people are saying that this is gonna that's not him because why would they take their captain and throw him in the brig? Which, if they don't know he has powers, he's probably just sitting back waiting for something like this to happen. And again, we'll get into that. That's sort of at the end of the end of episode 2, but I have a good feeling that it is him, and maybe they're gonna surprise us all with this, and it's not going to be him at the end of it, but it very does sound like him. There's definitely a possibility that the crew got him, threw him in the brig, and now they captured these kids. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on in the near future with all that. And I think if we're going to probably go back and they'll do some like they did with the acolyte, they'll go back and do some stuff behind the not behind the scenes, but previous stuff. So we'll get to learn a little bit more about his character. And I was reading something that Jude Law had said that we really don't find out too much about his character until the 7th episode. So I mean, almost the end of the whole series, we're going to sort of it's going to be very putting pieces together, trying to figure out if we're the right, if we're the right predictions or not. So
yeah. I mean, probably on brand that the guy thrown into a jail cell, no matter who he is, uh, who could have gotten out the whole time, is probably up to something. You know, he could have grabbed that key at any point, but he's probably waiting for a good opportunity, no matter who he is. I don't know if it matters that he's the captain or that initial captain or not, um, because I think he'll, of course, be on the other side of those pirates anyway. Um, but that's what I think. What I foresee happening is that he's gonna like actually care for those kids, but everyone's just using them to find their legendary planet, you know, um, which we can get into later. But um, I think I had said it last time that maybe Hondo's the guy, or maybe it was just privately with you that Hondo, if we see Hondo, like you've been saying, Hondo might be the guy to tell them like that ain't a Jedi. I've been around the real ones. Like, what are you doing hanging around with this guy? Um,
yeah.
that's all fun speculation. I actually think there's probably a higher chance we won't see Hondo, but um,
Okay.
anyway, on to bigger
Fair
and better
enough.
things.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the second opening scene when they're all in I guess the suburbs and they're all hitting the school and I thought
Yeah.
this was a neat thing. You know, nobody's flying around. We find out
Hmm.
that there's a barrier around the planet.
Yep.
So obviously, once they get on this ship, they break through. But it's very controlled. They talk about the old republic when now it's technically the new republic,
Yeah.
right? You know, so
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that whole time that we're on that planet, I first was really interested in it visually because it's kind of cool to see pretty recognizable Star Wars planet or city. You know, that looks like a really affluent American suburb. You know, um, and it was interesting. I think we got a little spoiled with one of the trailers when the kid's paying with Republic credits,
Yeah.
like Clone War era insignia or before, that whole whatever that would have been 1,000 years. So that paired with like the barrier and the stress of like ever leaving the planet or not knowing that there was other stuff out there leads me to believe that there's something pretty cool going on with this show as far as like lore stuff. Because the fact that these kids are like they know about Jedi stuff, but them and their families have literally never left, and are probably under the assumption that nothing ever happened. So like, what happens when they find that out? I don't know. That could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's cool that once they break through, they see the stars and they're like, "What are these?" They
Yeah,
don't even know. They really haven't seen anything. But I think it'll be interesting to see how all four kids play out, because the girls are friends and the boys are friends, and obviously they come together in this weird circumstance, especially with them sitting in front of the principal's office or whatever you want to call it. She
mhm.
overhears Wynn talking about, that he found a Jedi temple, which obviously it wasn't. But again, all through the beginning, we see him looking through this book and he's reading, like you were saying, like about the Jedi and about the Sith, and some of the websites have actually, gone in there and um, analyzed it or whatever, so it shows exactly what it says. And
Mhm.
it's a pretty cool. It's more of just a Jedi story, but
Yeah,
again, like you said, they could be, oh, this was 100 years ago, because again,
yeah,
I think they're not sure. Obviously, if it's Old Republic's credits and it's the New Republic now, obviously they're isolated and don't know what's going on in the
and
outside the barrier.
clearly, clearly isolated to everybody else because nobody, you know, their own droid didn't know that their planet existed, and then people at the pirate world or whatever, the pirate bay, were like, "Oh, you mean the place that doesn't exist? That's like a freaking fairy tale planet." That
Yeah,
you basically talking about it like it's Atlantis, right?
right.
Like,
With a big treasure.
yeah.
Which I think it's cool.
So
So again, that's the plot starting with the pirates. There's always a treasure. There's always,
and it's
like,
cool that like the kids' lunch money is the most valuable thing in this
yeah,
entire pirate city, which means that like what that planet represents is something pretty important. Probably not just to pirates, but to other people. Um, and I think it's possible that more players get involved with this story if that's the case, rather than just this pirate squad. You know,
well,
I think
in
it's
in
probably
that
a
last
lot of people.
yeah, in the last trailer, they switched from like Jude Law yelling, there's all these pirates are coming. I forget what it actually says, but he talks about, he's screaming like the pilots are or pirates are coming. And in the last trailer, it says the bounty hunters. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if there's both. Does he say that both times, or were they just sort of baiting us with the pirates, and then the last trailer comes out and they say bounty hunters?
yeah,
So it's going to be interesting if we get to see some of the bounty hunters, out there. You know,
yeah.
so
And I
see
think
what.
um, Brett. Yeah, I agree. So it's like obviously like the treasure is what they're after, but they're so isolated that the rest of the world isn't even looking for them because they think it's ridiculous. So how old is this place, first of all? And then which old republic are they talking about? Are they talking about like prequel era old republic compared to the new one? Or like old republic way back that we don't even really have stuff for, you know? Like pre High Republic, all that kind of stuff.
Right,
Um,
because this takes place in the Mandoverse,
yeah,
so it's after 4, 5, and 6. It's before Ray, so it'll be interesting to see how they tie all this in, because I'm guessing some of these characters are going to be in that Mando movie.
yeah. And I think part of it also is that it makes particularly Wim's character like not just because he's a kid, but it makes him more vulnerable because he's so excited about Jedi. Yep, him. He's so excited about Jedi, so into like those stories with zero concept of what all went down in the last couple decades.
Yeah.
And now meeting a guy who pulled a key over to the cell, and I think it makes them like very vulnerable to being manipulated by the people who are after their home planet. Julie Stein commented with a great question, Ron.
Okay.
Thanks, Julie. What is the significance of the planet the children are from? And will we know more in episodes to come? Ron, you want to take that?
Yeah. Got the dogs barking. Yeah, I think it's going to be very significant in this planet from where the children are from. Again, where there's not a lot of people out there that know where planet is. So I think that's the big mystery. And once we find out what this is, and it could be something very similar to like when Dooku took, the planet. I can't even think of it now. Kamino out. Where people don't know that Kamino is a planet, and then we're trying to go find out where this Kamino planet is. So I think it's very significant that this is going to be a planet in this universe, and I think there's going to be some sort of treasure on here or whatever. But as we see in the first couple minutes or whatever after the battle, when we're on that planet, it's a suburb planet. These kids are going to school. They're going to be you're taking tests so you can improve, this whole culture. So again, what is this? Is this, a lot of people are talking about, is this the first talk of the resistance, or not the resistance, but the first order. If you watch and you look at that, you see all these kids sitting there taking these tests. And if we go back to Kamino and look at all of these clones that are lined up, taking all these tests and sitting in front of computers, it's the same type of thing. And yeah, we will know more as the episodes, go on. And that's the thing about Star Wars, that we really don't have too many questions that aren't unanswered at some point throughout the series. I mean, on Acolyte, I think was, unfortunately, that's just a thing that happened with the whole Acolyte, but I think they were going to probably try to do a season 2. Whether they do or not, I'm not sure yet. There is some speculation right now that's sort of brewing, but I think they will answer the questions, for what is going on in the planet, who his dad is, who Wim's mom is, same with the young girl. I can't think of her first name, but her mom, she's obviously very well to do. Her mom comes in, oh, you're at the top of the class or whatever she says, so I think it'll be interesting to see what this planet is. This planet has a lot to do with this. I don't think we're going to see it in the next couple episodes, but I think in the next, by the end, we will figure out what's going on with this planet, and it will have a lot to do with the whole plot, I think.
Yeah. I think if nothing else, it's just a really interesting thing where this planet is like a closed loop system. So it's probably the most Earth-like planet in the whole Star Wars universe so far, where they've got their own planet, own stuff. Everyone has a job on it. They're not mingling around with other planets, although they, the higher-ups probably know it exists, but, I don't know. Because the adults seem pretty psyched to get some kind of bureaucratic job on a planet that they'll never leave, in a galaxy where a lot of people leave their planets. So there's something going on, and they call it the Great Work in the last episode. I don't know what the Great Work means, if it just means making their planet like a crown jewel, or if it's, I don't know. And does anybody on that planet know what's been happening? Is the barrier there to protect them from what's been happening? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that barrier thing, and how far gone they are, how many years they've been in this.
Yeah.
To see, obviously, it was, that I don't even think they know about the Empire.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they would have no idea that ever happened. So it makes the kids vulnerable from a trust standpoint. If Jod rides it out and is like, yeah, keep a secret. I'm a Jedi. And, and the Republic's great, isn't it? And, is in their good graces the whole time. And eventually it's going to come forward to the kids. But the other thing, to your point about the First Order stuff, I think that'd be an interesting twist if it turned out they're just like farming people for their situation. However, I feel like with a planet that was undetectable and had a barrier around it to shield everything off, that they would just be parked there. You know what I mean? And from what I understand, that they've just shot themselves off into deep space and are as good as lost working on their stuff. Not the kids, but the First Order at this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like in season 3 of Mandalorian, when they have like that council meeting, they're all Gideon's like one of the only people like in that group that's actually in the middle of the galaxy, and the rest of them are all working on this, the Exegol sort of lost. But I think it'd be an interesting twist. Or my guess would be that someone with enough power on Aten, the planet, is aware that everything went to shambles and they've just closed the loop and said, we're out. Intergalactic stuff's not for us.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, and I think it will. I think it will come to fruition what's going on in that planet. And I think there's going to be people in the higher ups that do know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, this guy is so cool.
Neil, he's great.
And it's not CGI. It's actually a 10-year-old boy that's playing this character, Neil. I thought it was so cool when they, at the beginning, when they sort of first introduce him, and like you see the back of Neil, and he turns around and he's got like a little pretend lightsaber, and the other wimp got one, and he's like, "You shouldn't have come back," or whatever.
Yeah.
Because again, that took me, back to the OGs. I mean, that's what we did when we were kids. If my brother's still on here, I mean, again, we didn't. A lot of the times we weren't. He was usually Han Solo and I was Chewbacca, just because I was bigger, and Chewie was one of my favorite characters back then. But again, we played like that as kids, when these first came out. So I thought that was really cool how they did that, and again, him oversleeping, missing the bus, there's bullies, the girls are cruising around on this, hyper bike or whatever it is, so I just thought it was really cool how they're bringing everything in, and sort of we're learning a little bit about these kids. We sort of know what's going on with them, and then by the end of, the show, they're off in the base.
Yeah. It seems like, it also seems like in this whole thing that the kids are actually going to have some power in this, because that droid views Fern as the captain. So like Jod can't just like walk in.
Wrong droid.
Yeah. Jod can't just walk in with SM-33 and be like, I'll take over, So he has to placate to what the kids want to do, which will also kind of tie into his self-interest. But I'm interested to see like how the rest of the pirates play into it, because I don't think that we just got all of the players in these first 2 episodes. I think more will come through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got Urkel here, which is pretty interesting. There's the new Star Wars pirate. There he is. And again, we didn't see him much. He didn't have much acting. I think he'll do okay. I just think it's neat that they're bringing these people in, to help out the universe. But again, with Brutus there, Captain Brutus, who we see at the beginning, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, this werewolf type guy. But again, we come back to A New Hope, where we see him in the cantina. Now I don't know if it's actually him. I don't know if there's any been confirmation. It's definitely his species that's there, which I thought was pretty cool.
Mhm.
You know, and in the beginning, I thought the 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 whole battle and stuff was really cool. But in the middle here, I'm pretty sure that's the ship at the beginning, correct?
Where at?
See the one in the middle that almost looks like a T? That's the one
Yeah.
that attacks. That's the pirate ship that attacks that
Okay.
ship at
So
the
that's
beginning.
the Brutus.
Yeah, the one yeah, Captain Brutus now at this point, he's, he is we find out that he is the captain. But
Yeah.
I think that he has, well, now because they got rid of the other captain.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really neat that, that obviously is the ship, or that style of ship right there in the middle that looks like a T is the one that attacked and shot those things in through the hull of and then they had the tubes and everybody was coming in. I thought that the
Yep.
first scene was so good. It really brings back again, a New Hope feel and a Star Wars feel. I think they've done a good job. You and I have also, we like the Acolyte and everything else. I thought that was really cool, but um, I think they're bringing it back.
Yeah. Finally got one. I'm sure, for me, the thing was like finding a good stick to be like a pretend lightsaber on the playground because you couldn't bring them to school.
Right.
We had toy lightsabers by then. Finding a good stick to make a hilt was like always the hardest part.
Yeah.
Or to make a gun too, but yeah. I like in that picture you just had of the pirate place. I like how they've made it very much like it actually is on the sea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the glow of the shields there that like keep the air in makes it look like water outside, and like the guy comes in on a dinghy to like bring them into port. And you always hear in the movies and in the shows all of the space combat people and all the military in space are like addressed as like naval officers or admirals, or they call it the Imperial Navy, even though it's flying ships. But it's cool to see. That was my phone. I bumped the table. It's cool to see like that sort of marine feel in space because that's how they refer to everything all the time.
Yeah, and then again, they're pirates, and until Star Wars came along, for the most part, I guess, and I'm sure maybe before, but again, when we think of pirates, we think of the ocean, we think of the sea. So I think that's pretty cool that like you said, how they made it look like that. It's really cool. The different images that they use in reference to that.
Yep.
So let's see.
Who else we got in the chat?
Say what?
Anybody in the chat that hasn't commented yet?
Has everybody seen it? I'm guessing everybody has. Yeah, here's the captain. First time when we see him, and at the beginning there, everybody's shooting everybody, and he just comes out and I think he massacres about 5 guys when he walks out. He's just shooting. And then he says, "Oh, Captain, the ship is yours." And then we see this guy come through, and Captain Silvo. And then obviously he gets it's mutiny, and he's no more, and we think he gets taken into. I think you're right. I think that is him, but I could be wrong. But I think it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out in this, and I think it's cool when they were on that area there, in the pirate. I can't think of the name of the pirate place that they went to, but it was really cool to see all of whether it was CGI or them when they come up to the table to eat. There's so many new characters and old characters that they've brought back into these scenes, which I think is really cool.
On to it being Jod, for the Jod being the former captain argument, I feel like putting him in the brig could make sense if he's like worth something to somebody else.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
because that's their entire interest. You know, if they've broken off with him to be like, take the risk of being pirates, then he may have pissed off some other people, the same way Han Solo had forever, you know?
Right.
Um, and so he might be worth something. That could be a reason. And it also depends on if anybody knows he has powers, like you said earlier. You know, if anybody knows that, then uh, it might be he might be more valuable as a prisoner than to just kill him. Um, but I suppose we'll find it out. But I too did notice all the like some bunch of new species of stuff in this
Yeah.
port and different types of people, and then some returning species as well. But
This little dude here,
yeah,
that's a little transport guy, and he is actually in. I think they said it was one of the Ewok movies. So
oh
that little dude, yeah, that little dude there is part of the Ewok. But again, they're bringing him back as a character, which is pretty cool. You know,
yeah,
they brought back so many different ones, and all these, you know, Easter eggs and stuff. I think are just so cool that they do here to bring back to the OGs and even back even further into, you know, the prequels.
would you say that your primary like take on special appearances, would you say Hondo is in first place for who you think is most likely to make an appearance of any characters we already know?
I'm not sure. I think that Hondo's a good possibility, even if it's just a quick cameo. But again, there's lots of talk about some of these bounty hunters coming in, which I think would be awesome, you know, to see. But I think we're definitely going to see some more main characters, so to speak, pop up in cameos or something like that. You know, whether it's a C3PO or an R2D2 somewhere, you know, that we see on a hollow screen or something like that. I think that what they've done so far in these 2 episodes is got people to be interested in it again and enjoy it from a beginning standpoint, because there's really nothing that we know of in the originals that has really come up. Where with the Acolyte, it's a little bit different. With the Acolyte, you know, we're going right back to the High Republic, where we got laser swords or lightsabers, you know, as they're called. But I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen with that and how they're going to expand on that and who we're going to see. Because again, we're starting out fresh. 4 kids nobody knows about, nobody knows who Jod is. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what's going on with the rest of the series. I think they've done a good job making it for the adults and the children as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Disney does.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to see these, you know, whatever not the Pixar's, but you know, whatever the cartoons that Disney does,
animation stuff.
Lion King, things like that. I mean, all of these, Aladdin, you know, they're for kids, but some of the things that they say go right over these kids' heads, and we laugh as adults.
Yeah.
I think that's what Disney. I think that's what Disney brings to Star Wars a little bit. Not that they didn't have it already, but I guess they continue to do that, where there is a little bit of silliness in there and things that we can pick up on as adults and enjoy it, and the kids can enjoy it as well. Again, I don't know if I would want my, you know, I would love for my 5-year-old to watch all the Star Wars stuff, but some of it, I mean, that first opening scene, I mean, they just massacre a bunch of people on that ship. You know, same with the Acolyte.
Yeah.
When they in episode 5, when they just start chopping heads off and breaking necks and different things like that. So again, for us as older fans, I think it was fantastic. I think we got a lot of cool stuff to come in the next 6 episodes. So I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think to speak to the newness of it that you mentioned, it's kind of what we talked about in our last live, where it feels like you don't have to be like a huge Star Wars fan to immediately like this show. You don't have to know much, because like you and I don't know much about what's happening.
Right.
You know, we know enough to make some like use the word again, headcanon guesses as to what things mean or what things are. But like similar to Andor, you don't have to know Star Wars to think Andor is an amazing show,
Right.
or to enjoy it. Same with Rogue One. I think Skeleton Crew has that same feel, and it's different from the Acolyte, where the Acolyte deals with some pretty like immersed stuff and delicate stuff that can be confusing or a little conflicting if you're depending on where you're coming at it from. But I feel like Skeleton Crew is like immediately we get cool stuff, and the table is clearly being set for cooler stuff. And it's just fun, you know. As serious as the situation is, you have 4 kids who are lost in the middle of a galaxy that they didn't know existed. That's pretty serious, but it's still enjoyable and fun. And you know, I think it'll probably get more serious, you know, but I think the kids are the stars of the show, and it's going to make everybody enjoy whatever happens. And they've done a good job so far. Like I think they're pretty good actors for this type of thing.
Yeah. I think all the kids have done a good job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just what they've put out in the first 2. And I thought it was interesting because again, I think that this young lady here, I think she's almost like a bully, you know, and you know, and then she goes and scares them when they go find the starship again. I thought that was sort of neat because again, I was like, oh man, they're going to get busted again. And then it was the other young lady with the thing on her head, which was pretty cool. And I think they do a good job of bringing the kids in here. And like I said, I think they're gonna obviously form a bond. The 4 of them are gonna form a bond, which they already have a little bit. But again, as they continue to grow in this series, they're going to become more and more friends. I think they're going to become more and more reliable with each other. I think they're going to have some spats as well. You know, again, you know, Wynn wanted to be the captain, you know, but now she is, which I think is pretty cool. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they progress with all of this, you know. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about Skeleton Crew, the first 2 episodes. We've been talking about episode 1 and 2. If you have any questions, let us know. We're going to probably do this hopefully a little bit closer to the episodes next week. We'll try to get on the day after or something and talk about these things. If you guys have any questions, let us know. If not, we'll probably wrap up here in a little bit. But again, it's just some spoilers. So if you're already at this point, you've watched this, or we just spoiled a bunch of shit for you. So but
which is
Skeleton.
Good point. If you're in the chat and you would prefer it, because like Ron, I was on a plane when this aired, and Ron, you had watched it, and I was like, I haven't seen it yet, so I had to watch it when I was done working the next day. But for people who tune into these lives, like, are you able to watch it right when it comes out, or would you prefer that we wait a little bit so you can get it all down and like do it a couple days later? Yeah, I don't know. It depends. So I feel like it's fun to be in this, like what we're doing. It's fun to be in the chat live so you can kind of interact. So the best time to do that is when everybody's seen it and we can talk about it. So if we do it the day after and nobody's watched it, then you know we're just spoiling the whole thing for you. So
right. Well, I think you know most or a lot of the people that are going to be on here watching this are pretty big fans like us that are going to watch it pretty close to the time. Unfortunately, I started it a few minutes late. I was going to try to get on the watch party with the guy who loves Star Wars, but I wasn't able to. You know, so again, I got home and just watched the whole thing by myself. But I thought it'll be cool to continue to bring it out because again, there's so many other podcasts that come out, you know, that night or the day after and things like that. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. And again, it depends on our work schedule, you know, when we got time to get on these together and talk about it. So it's always a different challenge every week to figure out what time we're going to be on here, and you know, not a set time or a set day. We just sort of periodically send them out. I'll try to put up, ads and stuff like that for lives on, Facebook and YouTube and X and all that stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions, pop them up here now, and if not, we'll start to settle down here and close it out. But again, I thought it was a great job. I think they really did a good job bringing everybody in and capturing the essence of Star Wars again.
Yeah.
Not that in a way, but I thought again, meaning they've done it again.
Mhm.
With Obi-Wan. Again, me and you like the Acolyte. I think they've done it again with this new series, bringing these kids in. We don't know. What a great job. The special effects again are phenomenal. All the CGI stuff that they do is really cool. Again, getting people like this in these costumes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How realistic they look.
Yeah.
When you see these things, it's pretty cool. I think the way that they make it look. So
I think there'll be even more of that to come too.
oh yeah, well, like when they're going
More
when they
stuff.
shoot down the hallway there and show all the pirates coming out onto the ship in that first scene. There's
Yeah.
just so many different species that come out, and I'm sure if you stopped it frame by frame, we could say, oh, okay, that one was in A New Hope, that was in Return of the Jedi. And again, there's some other things out there that a lot of these guys, there was like 61 or 111 Easter eggs in the first two, episodes. So again, there's ones out there that are doing that, which is pretty cool. I like to watch those just to see things that I wasn't able to capture or watch because it went by so fast. Or the Arabish, like I said, these guys, they talk about, what was over the top of the school and when he's reading the Jedi thing, and even the little Etch-a-Sketch thing when he's sitting there in class, I thought it was cool. So the different things that they compare to, and again, we're in the suburbs. I think it makes for younger children or younger kids that are watching this to be more realistic about it and be like, oh, that looks like my neighborhood, and oh, I found a spaceship. They can start to realize and think, what a cool thing finding a spaceship would be.
Well, it's kind of funny. This whole thing's kind of just played out as if you and your brother went out into the yard and like found a ship. It's exactly how kids probably grew up playing.
Yeah.
And now it's like playing out, which I'm sure was probably most of the inspiration for at least the vibe of the story. But I would agree that there's probably like even hundreds more Easter eggs to come. And then it'll start getting interesting when it ties into everything else going on. Because I do think that they've ran all of these shows in the same time period for a reason, whether that comes together in a movie or whether they just keep doing this in the shows. I think to put so much emphasis it's probably for the timeline purposes, but to bring up the New Republic, to have it said a bunch of times, I would think they get involved in some way. So maybe that guy who's been in The Mandalorian, who's the X-Wing pilot, or dare I say a Zeb, gets, like that sort of thing. I could see these things kind of weaving over each other in this cool way. That kind of boosts the Skeleton Crew's like importance. Yeah.
Well,
again,
just like the Mandalorian, bringing Ahsoka in.
Yeah.
How cool was that to have her come in for 2 episodes?
Yeah.
And then she breaks up and
yeah. And so I don't know. I don't think it needs that, but I presume it's going to happen because it's happening in this timeline, and also maybe it's because we're all familiar with like the timeline of the Mandalorian and stuff. But I think it's going to have its own story that's uniquely cool. And so far, like, I would love to stay where these first 2 episodes are, but we have 6 more episodes. It's probably going to blow up even more, but there's a lot to know, and hopefully the pacing, because it's another 8 episode season. So hopefully the pacing gives us some, gets a move on and gets us into a place to find out like what's going to happen with these kids. Because to be in the second episode and know that all these pirates are going to try to use the kids to get to this treasured planet, like if there's got to be more going on if we already know where everyone's head's at. So,
yeah. Well, and I think even that first episode, even like Julie said, are we going to find out some more of these things? I think we will. Hopefully, they'll be a little bit longer. I mean, that first one was a decent size length. I think it was close to 40 minutes or something like that. And then the next one was a little bit shorter. But I think now we sort of have a backstory, at least of the kids, so I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more, but we won't have to worry about trying to dive into some of these characters more and more and more. I think this is almost going to be more of a face value type of thing once this stuff comes out, and they're going to deal with it when it's in front of them instead of some of this stuff going back. I think we will see some stuff going back, into Jude Law's character. I think we'll see some of that, sort of who he is and stuff. I think we will, go back to the planet and, see some of these kids' moms and dads are going to have, either more cameos in it as well. But I think they're doing a good job of just putting it, face forward. Here we go. Everybody has an idea of what's going on at this point. So now we can start diving in more into the story and figure out what the planet's about, what these pirates are going to do with these kids, and who Jude Law is going to be.
Yeah, and I agree with you earlier. I don't think we get like the deep stuff till much later. I could see now that they're in this situation. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. When in this situation, I think it's going to be cool to watch them grow. I think they're going to mature very quickly. Obviously, while they're out there on this spaceship in front of these pirates, because they know that they're out there with pirates. They know it's dangerous at this point. They've already been chased. They're not sure what else is going on. So I think it's going to be really cool to see what's happening and what's going to go forward with these things, as we go into these different episodes. Well, the dogs are barking. I think we're going to try to do a Wars Christmas. I don't know what that will entail. I do have a shirt on. I was going to wear my Santa hat.
Sorry, I think you got muted when you brought the picture up. So
okay.
For the crowd, what?
Oh, okay. Well, again, it's just the Black Series that's there. If you can see it up along the top there, it's pretty cool. I tell you, the Boba Fett that's down there on the second shelf is really cool. It's a neat piece.
Does he have a candy cane?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it over there and take a look at it. It's a pretty neat piece.
Yeah. When Ron and I were at, here it is.
Yeah.
On Han Solo's wrapped.
Yeah.
Nice.
And even on the little thing here, it says to Jabba.
Yeah.
He's got all his stuff in here. But I mean, this is one of my favorite Christmas things from Star Wars, which is really neat. They have some cool things coming out. If you haven't already, I did a little Christmas decorating with the tree. Almost looked like the Flash decorating the Christmas tree, which was fun. But I got a whole bunch of cool new ornaments. So we'll have it. Like I said, we'll have a little Christmas special, probably sometime in between the Skeleton Crew podcast and things like that. But again, check out some of our other ones that we've done. We've had some really cool guests on here. We have some new guests coming in the next year. So I have hopefully working on one before the end of the year here. So we'll try to get them on if we can before the end of the year. If not, definitely have some new and some fun interviews coming up at the first of the year. So you got anything else to wrap up? How are the dogs doing over there?
They're good. Hear a noise of any kind, and they get after it. Yeah. One of them, great episode for the crowd to watch. One of them is Matt's dog. His name is Blue. Matt was on the podcast to do like an intro to Star Wars conversation. which is a great episode. We've talked about it a lot, but
yeah, we'll have to. How's he doing? How's he doing on the movies? I know he got a bunch of stuff competing and stuff, but we'll definitely got to get him back on.
I think he's on to Empire. So he started with Phantom Menace. So he's made some progress. He's got the big ones coming up.
Nice.
But yeah, he's enjoying them. He actually really liked A New Hope.
Okay. Did he watch Rogue One before that or not?
I don't know if he did.
Okay.
I don't think he did.
Okay.
But I think he, when I was last with him, he was rewatching A New Hope just to get back into the swing. Nice. So we'll check in with him one of these days to see how it's going and what he thinks. So
yeah, we'll definitely have to have him back on and talk about it again and see, like you said, see what he thinks. So
yeah. There's my mom said Matt's was a great episode. Love to hear what he thinks. Yeah, me too. I think he likes it. I think he liked. I remember the first time I was on the podcast, you asked me like what my favorite scenes are, or what my favorite scene was, and it was Obi-Wan talking to Luke in his house.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt like made a comment. We should let Matt talk about it. He made a comment about that scene where I was like, "Same, I agree. I think it was awesome." But we'll let him. I won't steal that from him. But I think Matt and I have the same favorite scene. So, but yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us here today, talking about Skeleton Crew. We've, again, we're going to get on here in the next couple weeks as it continues to come out on Mondays now. And that was the thing too. Unfortunately, they said it was going to come out on the 3rd and it ended up coming out on the 2nd. And that's why. Yeah. So I guess it's going to be every Monday now. So Monday, I think probably 8 o'clock. Our time, Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, and 6 o'clock Pacific. So again, join us. Check out other podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate everybody joining and questions and things like that. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. We'll look at them at some point throughout the day and answer some questions if we need to. And we're going to end it now. I'm going to try to see if the ending outro works. So let's see. We got another quick question. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Let's see if this works.
Bye, Mom.
All right. We're going to play the outro. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you guys on the next Star Wars Jedi